Hey, so welcome to the 2024 year ahead forecast. Whew, this is going to be good, you guys. This is going to be big. I always tell myself, Megan, keep it to 60 minutes because that's the attention span that most of us have, or maybe that's even asking a lot over Christmas holidays. But I didn't give you guys an endpoint because, as people know who've listened to me do this before, it is very fluid and it's based on the energy. And sometimes we end up going longer. But again, if you have to leave, that's okay. Pop off and then you can catch the rest later. It's totally fine. Feel free to pop comments or questions in the chat and let me know what's resonating with you so that I can see how this is really landing. Numerology forecasts, at least the way I do them, are very much a co-creation. So what that means is I'm going to tap into the energy of the year. I've already done a ton of prep for you guys. I always take my calendar and I map out what I feel are the most important days. But then as we dive in together and we connect in with the energy, it's also going to be very specifically related to the energy of the people in the space. So this is here for you, whether you're live or the replay. This is very specific to you. It's not necessarily going to be relevant to everybody in the world because if they haven't raised their hand for this, their energy is not part of this co-creation. Okay, so I think that's important to say because sometimes you might hear what I'm saying and you're like, or at least I feel this way sometimes. I'm like, is this wishful thinking? Like, is this possible? Could this be true? And the way I look at it is it won't be true for everybody. It absolutely will not be true for everybody. It could be true for you if you feel and land in your heart and resonance with it and you choose to co-create with the energies. Numerology is not, in my opinion, about fortune telling. I will give you my predictions, yes, but this is about energy patterns. And then it's up to you to decide, am I going to play with this energy or am I going to choose to kind of like step back, opt out, not participate? Granted, for those of us who are here, many of us know that sometimes the universe has funny ways of, roping us into play, whether we want to or not. But at the end of the day, what I really strongly encourage you to do is listen to this with your intuition. And what that means is take what lands and resonates for you. Let yourself take that. And if you hear me say something and you're like, nope, that's not a fit for me, that's okay. Completely disregard it. You get to create this with me through engaging your intuition in the whole process. Okay. Yeah. And so I have a comment in the chat already saying, if you do your own forecast, it might be a little different. If you listen to another intuitive doing a forecast, it might be different. And that's why, for those of you, because I know a lot of the people on the call are numerology students of mine, and also there's tons of you here who are highly intuitive yourselves. And how this works is I contain an energy signature, obviously. You contain an energy signature, obviously, which is why we've been drawn to connect on this call. And so there's going to be a resonance in that where you're coming here with certain specific questions that I am qualified to share my ideas and energy on. Okay. And that's where it's really important that you be discerning. When you listen to people sharing this, you need to decide, is this a fit for me? Is this not a fit for me? You will pick up different pieces from different places, and that's great. Take what fits, leave what doesn't. Okay. And that is why forecasts will be different because different energy readers will have different energetic hits based on the code they carry, right? I am going to be seeing my forecast, our forecast, through the lens of my code, right? And I carry a specific code. And so those are the eyes that I have to see. Okay, I don't understand what's happening. If you guys accidentally come off mute, please try to remember to mute yourself because I want to make sure that this replay comes off good. But I wish Zoom would auto mute people, and maybe that's just a setting I don't know how to use yet. Okay, first of all, many of you sent me a response to my email, which was so great. I loved receiving all of your responses about what you're intending in 2024. And pretty much all of you are like, I'm calling in greater financial abundance. Me too. Okay, me too. If you are one of those people who are calling in greater financial abundance, please put a 1 in the chat so I know that we are on the right track. Okay. The other question I asked you guys about was things like health. I asked about your work, your soul gifts, your energetic contribution. And the most common responses, yay, all these ones, yay, so good. The most common responses I got were number 1, financial well-being. This is a strong desire that everyone has right now. And what I want to say to you is that's because you're aligned with this 8 energy. The other strong desire that a lot of people have right now is to be able to share more freely their natural intuitive soul gifts. And again, this is in alignment with the energy of the year. So if you are one of those people who are like, yes, I would like to understand better how to share my work, understand better how to tap into my soul gifts, understand more about what I'm meant to do and how I'm meant to make a difference, just pop a 2 in the chat so I can see where everyone's at with that one. And then the third one I'm going to speak to is going to be health. So feel free to pop a 3 in the chat if health is also relevant to you. So number 1 is money. Number 2 is your contribution, your soul gifts. And number 3 is health. All right, we're here for all of it. Okay, let's do it. I'm going to start off by talking about the entire year as a whole. 2024 is an 8 energy year. 8 is all about commitment, momentum, mastery, devotion, and going deep. Okay. We are coming off the heels of a 7 energy year, right? 2023 was all about 7. And 7 was about learning to trust yourself, learning to strengthen your intuitive gifts, learning to have that level of faith and confidence in yourself because of your relationship with source, with spirit, with God, with universal energies, so that you could recognize that, yeah, it's good for me to have my own back, 100%. But I'm not alone in this. I'm not alone in having my own back. There is someone who also has my back too. And let me know in the chat if you felt that in 2023, that you might have felt yourself going through some hard times. We all did. Nobody was the exception in the hard times. But in 7 energy, we go through hard times to learn what we're made of. Okay. So how many of you felt like you kind of got a bit stronger of a sense as to what you were made of in this past year, right? Yes. You were maybe pushed against the wall in scenarios where you were like, I don't know what to do. I'm at my wit's end. I'm at the end of my rope. I don't know what to do. And you felt like you might have been forced to take a leap of faith or forced to trust something, even though you had no evidence of it. And sometimes that can feel hard to feel like we're being forced into it, like our hand is being forced. But it's not meant to be painful and a punishment, even though sometimes it is. It's that idea of being forged, right? It's that idea of these challenges are not punishment. Challenges are initiation. Okay. And in the 7 energy of last year, we were being challenged in our faith, in our trust, in knowing who we are, knowing what we were made of, and having faith that I can take a risk, I can take the leap of faith, and things can turn out for me, right? Things can turn out for me. And some of you are still in that space of like, still waiting for the evidence that things are turning out for me. I hear that. I feel that. And I don't know, does it help to know that you're not off path if you feel that way? That is 7 energy alignment. Being that we're still December, we're still in 2023. We're not in 2024 yet, right? That's definitely part of it. Yeah, feeling like you were guided in a different way, feeling an awakening, the contraction before the expansion, 100%. Having to make new choices. Yes, figuring out where my true path lies, learning to trust myself. Yes, this makes me so happy. No one likes going through the fire, right? No one likes it. But then sometimes when you come out the other side, you can be like, wow, like I did that. I pulled that off, even though I had no reason to think I would. And I kind of thought I was going to fall flat on my face. But somehow here we are on the other side, right? Or nearing the other side. And so Okay, why am I giving you the backstory on the 7? Because going into the 8, there's going to be this transition. Okay. And the 8 is saying to you, all right, we showed you what you're made of, right? Last year with the 7, we showed you where you can trust yourself, where you can lean into co-creative energies with the universe, deeper relationships with your intuition, your spiritual gifts, deeper relationships with your guides, deeper relationship with God, whatever that means for you, with nature, with the universe. And all right, now that you have this in place, what are you going to do with it? Okay. So if you want a journaling prompt, a question for reflection, maybe jot this down on your page and like star it or something, because this is something I would encourage you to sit with. Ask yourself from 2023, you know, what did I show myself that I'm now made of? What was forged within me this year through the challenges and the ups and the downs I went with, right? Yeah. Trusting that everything is working out for me. Absolutely. So that's a question to ask yourself. Because going into 8 for the next 12 months, it is all going to be about devotion, commitment, and momentum. Okay, so we're nicknaming this 8 energy year the year of infinite abundance. Abundance feels so good and sounds so good. And we're all like, yes, please, more financial abundance. I want to remind you, though, that the word abundance doesn't actually mean money. It actually just means a lot, right? So recognizing that your mindset and your discernment is going to be critical in what you're manifesting a lot of. You absolutely have it available to you to create wealth, to create financial abundance, and to create physical abundance in whatever capacity that means to you. It might mean health. It might mean love. It might mean money, right? We have that available to us because of the strength that we gained last year in 2023. Okay. So infinite abundance is what's available to us. The 8 is very reminiscent of the infinity sign, right? If you flip it on its side, it looks like the infinity sign. It's about momentum. It's about devotion, commitment, dedication, responsibility, and mastery. Okay. If you're ever unsure, like, what am I doing again this year? Where should I focus my energy? The 8 is going to say to you, go deep. Go deep. It is not about surface level. You will have zero tolerance for surface level this year. And so will your people. Okay. Some of you on this call are entrepreneurs and business owners, and some of you are using this forecast just to feed your soul in family, in work, in career, in personal. It doesn't matter. You can do all of it. I do like to speak to some of the entrepreneurial pieces because for those of you who know me know I love and obsess with numbers in general, numerology, but also when it comes to business, that is also a personal passion of mine, as well as something I share in my work. Because before I became a numerologist, I was an economist and I studied business in university for 6 years. And I feel in my heart of hearts that business is such a source of freedom and liberation for those people who that's a calling to them. So I'm always going to speak to the entrepreneurs a little bit, but this is relevant for all of you. Anything that makes you feel surface level, it's time to put that aside or ask yourself, how can I go deep with this? If I'm feeling bored, it's either a sign to let it go or take it a step deeper. If I'm feeling annoyed, frustrated, whatever, it's because I'm not getting fulfilled because the depth isn't there. So letting yourself take things a little bit deeper is also what's going to help allow the reciprocity to kick in. So there's a couple of universal laws that are going to be very relevant this year that I want to speak to. Okay, so number 1, the law of momentum. Okay, the law of momentum is going to be critical this year. So if you're noticing things show up, whether it's a physical evidence or thoughts or feelings that you're having, ask yourself, what momentum is this a result of? Right? If you're having a thought or a feeling, or you're seeing some physical evidence somewhere, that's maybe something that's not your favorite. I mean, maybe it is your favorite. Either way, it doesn't matter. But asking yourself, like, ooh, I want to see more of this. Okay, what momentum is this a result of? Or, ooh, I want to see less of that, not liking that so much. Okay, what momentum is this a result of? It's only showing up as a result of a particular momentum that's at play. So, what can I do to shift that, change gears, adjust the momentum slightly? Or maybe you're loving what's showing up. And so you're like, okay, we're going all in with this. We're taking it to the next level. And so I'd love to hear from you guys in the chat if you have any thoughts. What do you believe creates momentum in your life? What do you believe is the thing where you're like, oh, this is the thing that gets that snowball rolling for me? Beautiful. Gratitude. Absolutely. That's such a powerful one. Yes, where your energy goes, focus and gratitude. Absolutely. Intention, consistency. Yes, action, taking action, personal belief, following your heart, following your desires. Yes, your passion, your gratitude, your consistency, planning. Absolutely. Excitement and action. Yes, these are all such great points. And all of you, depending on your unique codes, are going to feel the momentum kick in from different things, right? If you happen to carry a personal code that's a lot more mental, let's say, like heavy on the mental energy or mental plane, you're going to notice a lot around mindset work. Okay. The more mindset work that you do, the more momentum will kick in, right? Or if your mind is not working in your favor one day and you're thinking things, you're like, what is happening? I'm doubting, I'm second guessing, I'm questioning. It's like, okay, what can I do to reset some of my thoughts to activate that momentum? For those of you who have strong emotional centers or strong emotional influence in your codes, it's going to be the feeling, right? So things like the gratitude practice is going to be really important, or activating different things that create a feeling or a felt sense in your body, right? And then for those people who have a lot of physical energy in their chart, it's going to be doing something, taking action, maybe a practice, a habit, a ritual that's going to activate it for you. You're going to hear me talk a lot about practices and habits, probably because I'm a 7, right? And that's a physical number, but that's my lens and that's my frame. But I also think regardless of what number you are, you can interrupt some of it through the physical, right? Like if you're in a bad mood and you need to shift your mindset, sometimes going for a walk is the answer, right? So I would encourage you, jot down right now 2 or 3 things that you know contribute to a positive momentum in your life. You know, like the example I just gave, I'm going to go for a walk. Maybe it's, go and work in a coffee shop. That's what I love to do to change my momentum. If I'm feeling like I'm losing creativity at home, I'm just going to go work in a coffee shop for a little bit to shift my energetic state. Or, exercising, drinking some green juice, hanging out with people who inspire me, listening to a podcast that inspires me. If you would like me to do your charts for you, I will be sharing at the end or by email how you can get a chart done with me if you want. There's also some numerologists on the call. So if you do people's charts, if you're on the call, feel free to pop that in the chat as well. If somebody wants to know more about the makeup of their code as well. Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. Being around people, I teased this out a couple times over the last few weeks, saying community this year is going to be more important than ever. This is one of my strong predictions in 2024. Who you surround yourself with matters. Who you surround yourself with is a make it or break it. It's always been so, but the importance of this is so strong this year. You will notice it. It will be louder than ever. If you hang out with people who leave you feeling tired or depleted, that is going to be a momentum killer for you, right? Because of the way that 8 works with momentum. If you hang out with people who leave you feeling inspired and lit up and excited, that is like pressing on the gas, and you will notice things kick into place. And you can hack this, right? Like some people might be like, well, my family, is exhausting me. I get that. But you can hack this by listening to podcasts, by showing up to calls like this, by having a friend you voice note regularly. So you get that, supportive interaction on a regular basis, by joining a mastermind group. There's some people in this call who I met on a mastermind group, and that mastermind group was incredible for tapping into creative people who really inspire you and lift you up, right? So community is going to be super, super critical this year. And if you have a strong, a small, I should say, physical community, that can be a challenge, but be the person to shift it at the energetic or potentially non-physical level through virtual podcast, mastermind, things like that, and then start to hold space for it in the physical. Because if you're feeling like your community is like small, imagine that's like what your neighbor's thinking too, right? And wishing for that too. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so good. The second law, which is definitely related to the law of momentum that's going to be at play this year, is the law of compound interest. And what that means is the actions you put in now may or may not make a difference today. Okay, so if you put a penny in to your bank account today, that will make no difference. But if you put a penny in today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day, it will make a dramatic difference by the end of the year. Maybe not a penny. Maybe we should go with $1 because of inflation, right? When I was in school, they used the penny example. I feel like that's not even relevant anymore. But it's the point that, if you read the book, Atomic Habits or The Slight Edge, those are great books that talk about the concept of the law of compound interest, where it's like, what's the thing you do every day or most days where if you didn't do it, nobody would notice, it would make no difference. But if you do it, nobody might also notice, and it might not also make a difference. But if you do it every day, you will not be the same person in 30 days. You will not be the same person by the end of the year. You will notice a dramatic shift. So thinking to yourself, what is the law of compound interest at play? What is the snowball effect is the other one I like to think of, right? Where we don't have any snow where I am right now, which is the kids were devastated. That's all they asked Santa for Christmas was snow. But if you start a snowball at the top of the hill and you start rolling and it grows and it grows, and by the time you get to the bottom of the mountain, it's a giant snowball, right? What's that thing for you? And so I want you to tune into your own intuition for a second right now and ask yourself, what is that thing for me that I will get the most leverage out if I use the law of compound interest? And if you want to write a book, maybe it's like, I'm going to write a sentence a day. If you are improving your finances, maybe it's, I'm going to read a chapter a day or a chapter a week of a money book. Or maybe it's, I'm going to log my expenses every day or every week, whatever this is. What is the thing that if you did it every day, you would be transformed by the end of the year? Okay. Law of compound interest. The other one I want to talk about is that's going to be an incredibly important energy this year, and a law that's going to be at play is going to be the law of compensation, or the law of divine compensation. I talk about this law a lot, and I do recommend the book by Marianne Williamson, which is called The Divine Law of Compensation. It's a great book, but it's this idea of reciprocity, of giving and receiving, of ebb and flow, of outwardly expressing energy and inwardly expressing energy. When you look at the way the 8 is, if you were to imagine, okay, here, let's play a little mind game together. Imagine the 8 is in a 3-dimensional object, and we shifted it so the top of the 8 was facing towards me and the bottom of the 8 was facing towards you. Okay, we have this swirl of energy going between us like this. Energy going into you, through you, out back to me, into me, through me, out back to you, right? This is how life works. Whether you're looking at a person, whether you're looking at a tree, whether you're looking at your business, your family, your children, anything in life, there's this ebb and flow of energy where I give and I receive, and I give and I receive. And the quality of my life experience is determined by that flow moving, and that flow flowing without kinks in it, without blocks in it, without like the hose being bent and crooked, right? So the 8 energy is also going to expand our ability to both give and receive. So this is another question I want you to use your intuition on and tap into and ask yourself, like, what's the one I want to work on this year? Do I need to learn how to be a better receiver? Do I need to learn how to be a better giver? And maybe what's like 1 or 2 ways I can practice that, right? In my business school, I often talk about the energy of receiving. If you're in business and you're not good at receiving, it's really hard to get paid, right? Have you ever tried to buy something from someone before and you're like, this feels hard. Like, where's your payment link? Or how do I pick the thing up? Or I can't even get a hold of you, right? And you're like, but I'm trying to pay you money. And you're like, does this person not even want my business? That's like a receiving block on the end of that business owner. And so, as business owners, one of the things we can practice doing is making it more comfortable for ourselves to receive. And one of the ones I always say is, can you just say thank you when someone wants to do something for you? Like if someone wants to open the door at the grocery store for you, can you say thank you? If someone offers to let you go first in the lineup at the coffee shop, can you say thank you? Or do you need to be like, oh no, I'm fine, right? And so this idea of practicing giving and receiving financially as well as energetically, it's the same, right? It's the same. Yeah, it's true. A lot of people struggle with receiving. Yeah. And having a good relationship with giving and receiving comes with having good and healthy boundaries, right? It's safe to give and receive when you have good and healthy boundaries and when you trust yourself to establish good and healthy boundaries. It feels bad to give when you give until you're depleted, but that's not their problem. That's our problem for not knowing what my boundary is around giving, right? Or when too much is too much, right? That's on me to sort out. And this is where the 8 is going to have lessons for us this year. If you give until you burn yourself out, it's going to hurt you this year, right? It's going to hurt you because you're disrupting that 8 energy flow I just got you to visualize with me. If I'm like only letting energy go out to you and I've blocked this flow, I've now ruined the divine law of compensation. Like, who am I to interrupt such a beautiful law? Right. But I've kinked that hose. Now the energy can't flow in this pattern anymore. That's a problem. Right. Yeah. And so it's really important to think like, you know, what do I need to do? And for those of you who are service providers, coaches, healers, energy workers, anybody really dealing with the public, you're going to notice this in your clients too, right? I see somebody in the chat talking about like, you know, their people overgiving and how that's affecting them, right? We all know overgiving leads to burnout. So if you're a service provider, a coach, a healer, someone like that, if this is coming up with your clients, you have the head start now. Like, you know, this is going to be a thing this year. So if you have tools to teach people about boundaries, if you have tools to teach people about healthy giving and receiving, like, please market them. Please share them with the world. Please shout it to the rooftops because you are needed. That energy is going to be needed this year, right? Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So those are the 3 laws that are going to be most important. There's a couple of sub themes I'm going to dive into. Let's do that now. Hey, how are you guys doing? Okay, I get so excited, right? I'm like, I'll take a drink of my hippie coffee. Okay. Before I dive into this next piece, how are we doing? Are you guys feeling me on this? Is this resonating? Any top of mind questions that you need burningly answered before I move on to the next section where I'm going to go into some more of the sub themes? So the three laws I just discussed is the law of momentum, the law of compound interest, and the law of compensation. I will be sharing the replay out with you guys. So if you're ever questioning, like if there's a section you need to re-listen to again, just note the time, right? We're 35 minutes in. So note the time. And that way, when you get the replay, you can kind of fast forward to that section and listen to it again. I do recommend as well, it's a great idea to notice the timestamps, because for me, whenever I receive a forecast that I really like, I'll go back and re-listen, right? So you can re-listen to this, partway through the year at, at Q1 or at Q2 or whatever, and just kind of just see what's landing for you and what you're picking up along the way as you grow through this journey. Okay, so 8 energy. One of the biggest things with the 8 energy is going to be our relationship with power. Our relationship with power is going to be at the forefront this year. Now, when I say the word power, there's going to be lots of different images and visuals that come to mind for you. Most of us have been programmed in society with an unhealthy view of what power is, right? Because we're shown lots of examples of toxic and unhealthy power usage. That is not the only type of power there is. I would love for you guys to just pop in the chat and let me know, like, what do you think makes power healthy? Like, if you could add something to power, or if there was some way of describing a healthy power, what would it be that you think would make power healthy? Love, choice, autonomy, empathy. Yes, autonomy is a healthy power. Being sovereign. Absolutely. Heart-centered, boundaries and open communication, intention, wisdom, light energy, knowledge, confidence. Oh my God, you guys are such rock stars. I'm like, I want all of you to have more power, please. Because if more power equals more of all the things you just said, is that not what the world needs right now? Like, is that not what the world needs? Oh my gosh. Yes, inner strength, assertiveness, openness, discernment. Yeah, being direct. I freaking love this. Support. Absolutely. I have a theory. I'd love to hear honesty and humility. Yes, I have a theory that the type of power we're used to seeing in the world has an overdeveloped, active, I'm going to say masculine energy to it. I do not mean masculine as in man. I mean masculine as outwardly expressive, directive, focused energy. Okay. We have not seen as many healthy examples of a more feminine energy. Power, I should say. Power and energy maybe could be used interchangeably, and maybe that's a question to ask yourself if how you feel about that. But when I say feminine, I do not mean woman, because men and women can both have feminine and masculine expressions of power, and ideally should, but not to like bury the lead here. What would be some healthy examples of feminine expressed power, right? Things like knowing yourself, knowing who you are, so that boundaries can be in place, right? Receptivity, right? Understanding interconnectedness, collaborative approach, right? These tend to be a more inward expression of energy. And you can literally think of like electrical plugs, right? The feminine plug is the inward plug, the masculine plug is the outward plug, right? Yeah. Men and both, right? There's men that don't express healthy masculine energy. There's women that don't express healthy feminine energy. It's all one and the same. And one of the 8 energy, I'm going to say desires, right? Leading with softness and grace. Thank you for that, Sloan. That is so, so beautiful. Leading with softness and grace, leading with awareness of who I'm walking with, leading with awareness of who's beside me or not beside me, leading with awareness of the impact up and down, side to side of choices and actions, right? These are all things. The 8 energy, because it's that flowing in and out, is going to show us where there's an out of balance energy that might be triggering for you on one side or the other, depending on what you're surrounded with. You might notice unhealthy masculine power and unhealthy feminine power. And it's not to be mean or to irritate or to punish us. It's because we know what we want when we experience what we don't want. We know what correction to be made when we experience something that's not true for us or not accurate or not right for us, right? So when you're noticing, whether it's something you see outside of you, like in society, on the news, on social media, in your friend group, at work, or something you feel within you, the invitation is to say to yourself, ooh, okay, this is uncomfortable. Like, ooh, this doesn't feel right for me. Like, I wonder what this imbalance is illuminating for me. Like, why am I seeing this? What is this asking of me to explore, to learn, to play with? Right? All of us said, I'm going to say all of us, maybe not every single one of us, but the vast majority of us said at the start of the call, we're looking to activate greater financial abundance in the 8 energy year. Okay. Some people will automatically think that means going directly into their more masculine relationship with power and striving forward towards something. And that might be true if you've experienced a lot of more feminine power for a while. Maybe the balance is that. But like, if this isn't feeling right to me, how can I get curious about an integrated approach? This is going to be the goal by the end of the year. We're not going to get there in January or February, perhaps by like September or October. We are going to, as individuals, which will affect the collective, have a better understanding of how to harmonize those energies within our own unique individual. And this is really powerful because whenever we say things like, I want to shift the collective, right? Or I would like society to have more X, Y, and Z. Society is made up of a million individuals. The collective is made up of a million individuals. So one of the greatest things you can do is decide how that energy plays within you and let your energetic body be the influence, right? So we all know we walk around with this giant bubble, right, of electromagnetic energy that we come into contact with people all the time. And that is what's going to determine the types of interactions we have with people. It doesn't take a lot of us to start to shift that collective vibe. It really, really doesn't. Yes, the pebble in the pond concept. That is how you know when you're in the right room or you're in the wrong room. You can be aware of that and exit the room. Or you can also check in with yourself and be like, I wonder what I can do in my energetic bubble that might actually flavor the room just slightly, right? What can I do? Because this is the 8's devotion. Remember I mentioned devotion, dedication, discipline, and responsibility with the 8. The 8's like not going to back down from a challenge. Again, use your discernment as to what's right for you, but also be willing to put in the hard work sometimes, right? You can trust yourself to have your own back because you learned that last year. Like you learned your yeses and nos last year. So tuning in and giving yourself permission to be like, yeah, like I can feel this is a growth edge for me. It feels a little uncomfortable. Is it a no or is it a growth edge? Let me just pause for a minute and ask that question, because if it's a growth edge, this is an opportunity for my responsibility to kick in, my discernment to kick in, and maybe some opportunities, right? Yes. Yes to showing up in our fullest and brightest energy. It is magic. Thank you for articulating that so beautifully, Leanne. Absolutely. You have the power to shift the energy in a room of 100 people. Take that to heart. You absolutely do. This is why, remember I mentioned earlier, community is critical. Because if I'm going to go into a room of 100 people, potentially to shift it, and whether it's a physical room or a virtual room, it doesn't matter, right? It's either, both, and whatever. But if I'm going to do that, what makes that possible for me is that I also have a home base energy that's so nourishing to me, right? That has my back, that will hold me, that will have those conversations with me, that recharge me, right? You need that. It's so critical this year. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? Okay. So I kind of hinted at this through power. Another theme. Okay. So far, hopefully you guys are all with me so far. One of the sub themes being power, one of the sub themes being leadership. Leadership and power. That's maybe a journaling question to ask yourself. Like, how do these play into together? How do these interact with each other? Right. But leadership, one of the things around leadership that's really, really going to be coming up this year is the concept of service-based leadership, heart-based leadership, not the leadership to be like the figurehead at the front to get the accolades, but the leadership of like, we're all in this together. We're all working together. And the indicator of my success would be, do I feel I can make a difference? And how can I make a difference? And in what way can I show up in service? This leadership energy is going to be solid gold this year. It's going to be so nourishing to people that people will gravitate towards it. People are hungry for heart-based connection, for truth, for integrity, right? Which also requires, I think I talked about this for like 2 years in a row, but it keeps coming up over and over again. It also requires the collapse of pedestals. If we have people on pedestals, it is a hard fall for them or for us or for anybody, right? Whether it's us on the pedestal or we put someone else on the pedestal, that is a residual energy from a hierarchy, right? And it's created an imbalance of power for many, many years. And so now we're learning how to honor and have respect for leadership while still recognizing the humanness, the humbleness, the integrity, and who we're walking with, right? So pedestaling is potentially a trigger depending on where you're at on your journey of understanding that energy and that pattern. It might trigger you when you see it, or you might naturally be able to disentangle from it. But just noticing for yourself, I will say that your triggers are sacred. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you or where you're at or what your journey is. Your triggers are simply showing you what is your next opportunity, right? What is the next opportunity for you to work with, right? Yes, absolutely, Kirsten. Pedestaling starts the power over situation way too easily. Way too easily. Yes, community, energy, give and receive. Yes, absolutely. Kevin's saying, I'm feeling the need to start a weekly group of like-minded people to collaborate and encourage each other through the coming year. That will be critical this year. I would say that would be a huge success this year. People need to be surrounded by open, honest, in integrity, heart-centered people who give them life, right? We can do that for each other. Okay. So leadership, humble, balanced, integrated, feminine, masculine. Whether you identify in whichever way you do, you're going to need to learn how to run feminine and masculine energy through your body and integrate both so that you can decide when you need to pull out which tool. They're just tools to be used in different settings, right? Which can you use and when? And looking back in your own personal history, which is the overdeveloped and which is the underdeveloped, right? And how can I play with that to like create some integration within me? And it is playful, right? This is not meant to be like hard. It's meant to be playful and fun. If you think of them as like archetypes within you. Sometimes I play this game with myself where I'm like, I have this like board of directors in my head, right? And they each have different ideas. Kind of like, what's that movie with all the feeling people having names? There's like Joy and whatever. Anyways, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So Inside Out, thank you. But I have this board of directors in my head, and each one of them is good at different things. And each one of them has different interests in different situations. And they can run the show or I can run the show, but I can call on them and be like, hey, you're great at this. this archetypal energy within my head. You can take the lead on this, right? Or, hey, this is actually something where we actually need two people to lead this with these two energies. You can run with this, right? For those of you who know your numerology chart, you can also think of this as the various different influences in your chart. These are the things that come natural to you and that you're strong at. You can give them jobs, right? You can also tell them to take a back seat because it's somebody else's turn to step in for a minute. You can do both. But this is that level of discernment and responsibility. Okay. Okay. The other theme I want to bring up is your nervous system. I think I've maybe hinted at it through talking a lot about community and through talking a lot about, knowing like if I'm mental, emotional, or physical, what are the things that keep my energy in check, right? But your nervous system is going to be your greatest flex this year. What that means is when you experience disruption, dysregulation, how can you get yourself back to a place of centeredness, right? And not from a place of like, you know, being mad at ourselves if we have a reaction or if we this or we, like that's normal and that's good and like express your feelings. But are you working with your nervous system or are you just completely unaware as to what's happening? Your ability to stay present with yourself is directly proportionate to your ability to stay present with your circumstances, right? And then to stay present with your family and to stay present with your clients and to stay present with your loved ones, to stay present with your own goals, right? Because if I can't stay present with myself, how am I going to stay present with my goal to grow my income this year? Or to grow my business this year, or to improve my health this year, or to find love this year, whatever my goal might be, if I can't stay present with my own self, right? And so your ability to do that with your nervous system is going to be so important. If you are someone who does nervous system work or teaches your clients how to do that or supports people in that capacity, your work is going to be very, very needed this year. And I would recommend all of us think of what are the ways that I do that with myself, whether it's a self-study, getting support, reading a book, whatever that is, because we want depth this year. Remember, the eight wants depth. Depth can only be sustained with presence, right? And the presence can only be sustained through a healthy, regulated nervous system. Otherwise, we check out, right? We're maybe physically in the room, but totally not. Being grounded in the body and connected to the earth. Yes, absolutely. More hiking this year for me. Every year I say that. More, please. I'm like, if I could probably do 10K a day and still want more, please. Okay. Okay, so that kind of sums up the opportunities I see coming in this year. I'm going to very quickly cover some of the challenges. You guys will know, for those of you who've been here for a while, you know this about me. I always pick the opportunity side because that's what I want to see more of. So that's what I tend to focus on. But energy runs in bands of polarity. Okay. So with every opportunity, there's also an associated challenge. Whether you're experiencing the challenge or the opportunity, the band of energy is the same. It's just where do you land on the band? And if you happen to land on the challenge side, it's an invitation for some alchemy work, right? It's an invitation to transform that energy. It's an invitation for a particle wave collapse to create a photon of light, right? And that's up to us to do the work, to reach out to support, to work with a healer or a coach or whatever that is, or do the inner work on our own, whatever that looks like. So some of the challenges to be aware of, and I really want to stress, if you are going through these challenges, you're not doing it wrong. You've given yourself an invitation and an opportunity to create something, right? If things are only ever good, you are not being forged. If you have these challenges, you're being refined, right? And you're being given opportunity to figure out where's the next growth edge? Where's the next growth edge, right? So some of the challenges that will come up with the 8 energy, number one, I think is going to be the biggest is imposter syndrome. So because the 8 cares about depth, and devotion and responsibility and commitment and showing up fully. Those are all things the 8 loves. The shadow of that is like, oh my God, I see so and so doing all these things and I'm not doing them. And that means I'm not good enough. And who even cares what I have to say? And who even cares what I have to think? Right? That downward spiral imposter syndrome story. And, oof, right? Like, oof. Imposter syndrome, it's like someone said this to me a long time ago. It's like, if you question, am I being a good enough mom? You've answered your own question, because a good mom would only be the person to ask if they were being a good mom, right? So an imposter syndrome, if you experience doubts, like, am I good enough to be doing what I'm doing? Should I be doing what I'm doing? Do people care what I have to say? By very definition, that means that you truly are invested. I want to work with someone who's invested, not someone who takes it for granted. Imposter syndrome doesn't mean you believe it and check out. It means you say to yourself, "Ooh, that's because I really care. That's because I really care." And that's one of
That's one
gifts
of gifts
of the like
of the like inter
integrated leadership we talked about a little bit earlier, that feminine masculine integrated leadership, right? It's like, I really care. I want a leader who really cares. Right? So let me be that then. If I doubt myself, that's because I care. And then I can decide, what am I going to do with that? Am I going to believe the thought and let it check me out? Or am I going to say, Megan, you're questioning things because you care. So what's next? Practice more, study more, do more sessions, get some feedback. What is my discipline? Because the 8 cares about discipline. The antidote to imposter syndrome is to say, it's because I care. Now, how do I go deeper? Right? How do I go deeper? And maybe it's like you take another class, or maybe it's like you work with a mentor to help you. None of us are meant to walk this path alone, right? To go back to the point on community, you find your community. You can find
you can
community
find community
in
in
free places and paid places. If it's a free place, it's going to require more effort and energetic investment on your part. If it's a paid place, it's a lot easier effort and energetic wise, and it costs a little bit of money. Either way, you got to pay for something, whether it's your energy and time or financially, right? If you want to build a community like that, that's beautiful. Could be a free way of getting that. If you're like, I don't have time for that, then buy into a mastermind, hire a mentor, like whatever that feels like to you, so that you're not sitting there questioning your own thoughts and just looping around on it. Yes, yes, yes. We all needed that. Okay. Number 2, distraction from your purpose. 8 wants to go deep. It cares about depth. You will be challenged on your ability to go deep by being distracted. And then you'll need to ask yourself, what's true for me right now? Is this where I need to go? Or is this reminding me that's what's truly important, is the depth that I have to take this? The challenges are meant to bring you back to your center. They're not meant to take you out of the game. They're meant to bring you back to your center, right? The other challenge that I feel you'll notice a lot
notice.
externally is going to be the misuse of power. You will probably notice this a lot externally, and it will probably make you crazy, and it will probably make you question, what am I doing? Why am I here? Who put me here? What the heck? Right? How can people be like this? Okay, I don't understand what's happening. If something happens with your mutes, please, please, please try to keep it, because it's echoing and I want to make sure we have good sound. Um, yeah, so there's a couple things that can come up if you are being triggered by the misuse of power externally. You can dig even deeper as to what's true for you and choose to be an embodiment of that expression. One of the ways that I think is helpful to do this is, if you guys know Byron Katie's The Work, those questions are great in helping you kind of recenter yourself and reminding yourself not to go out there too far, because that's a distraction. Oh, I don't even know what this is. I'm going to click enable and see what happens. Yeah, if someone has their phone in their pocket, it might be unmuting on purpose or by accident, then that could be the answer. So hopefully we can keep it muted. Yeah. So misuse of power, it might be very triggering to you, but sometimes it's a reminder for me when I notice the misuse of power, simply reminding myself that, ooh, the ugly needs to be dug up to be healed, to be transformed, to be transmuted, to be noticed so that we can shift it and I can make a new choice. I can't choose for everybody, but I can choose for me. How am I going to choose to engage, interact, or not? Right? How am I going to choose to invest my time and how am I going to choose to invest my expression? So that's going to be the misuse of power. Don't let it flip you into hopelessness. That's not going to be helpful for anybody, right? Asking yourself, okay, this is annoying as hell. This is maddening as hell. How do I get back to my own center so I can choose from my place of power here, right? Rather than falling kind of like into victim mode. Mirrors and triggers around integrity. That's the other challenge that's going to come up, right? We talked a lot about leadership and healthy expression of leadership. So we're going to notice unhealthy expression and a lack of integrity. Okay. Again, this is just asking you, what kind of life do you want to be a part of? And if you notice stuff where you're like, I'm not choosing that, then mindfully stop choosing it and mindfully make a different choice, right? Like, ooh, this is another opportunity for me to choose again. I don't like what's happening over here. I'm going to go play over here, right? Like mindfully, you will be given solutions if you ask for them. If you just slip into, oh my God, this is horrible, you will not be given a solution. But if you simply pause and find your center and say, okay, what's right for me? What's true for me? How do I move forward in alignment with what I believe? Then you'll be dropped in a solution real quick, right? It happens every time. Lack of commitment to your process. I think this is maybe related to distraction, but if you have a process, if you have a daily practice, a morning routine, a thing you do when you sit at your desk, whatever it is, pick one that focuses you, right? Focus creates momentum. Remembering about the law of momentum. What are those teeny little things that I do every single day that add up big when I'm consistent, right? And then finally, the last one I'm going to say is the giving up 3 feet from gold one. I think that's from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. The whole story about the gold mine, and the guy was digging and digging and digging and digging, and then was like, there's no gold here, sold his gold mine to somebody else. Turns out there was gold. He only had to dig 3 more feet and he would have found it, right? That's going to be one of the challenges, is the temptation to be like, it's not working and I give up. You'll know if that's true for you or if it's fear talking, right? You'll know. But that definitely is going to be one of the sabotages, because the 8 likes depth, right? Woo, we talked a lot about 8. I want to know in the chat, what's the piece where you're like, ooh, that's the bit I needed to hear. That's what I needed to hear. Like that was the thing, right? What's landed with you guys? Keep digging in the wrong places. Well, then you're going to know where not to dig. That's good. Imposter syndrome perspective, the gold mine story. Yeah, 3 feet from gold. Continuing to work on receiving. Yes, imposter syndrome and distraction. Beautiful. Okay, I love this. Now that you know, you can do something. Is this a growth point for me? I mean, I honestly feel like I've basically in my own life renamed triggers as sacred triggers. And I just really look at them as opportunities to either do alchemical work for myself or what I believe is potentially alchemical work for my community. And obviously, I can't do other people's work for them, but I can notice the energies and consciously choose how I'm engaging with them. And when you think of the fact that, like I always say that we're all energy, we know that, right? We're pure energy with a physical body attached to it. So you are all born into a particular energy pattern based on your numerology code, based on the code of who you are, right? And so let's just say you were meant to be an amethyst crystal, okay? You were born as an amethyst crystal. That is a grid you are gridding to create an entire beautiful grid of energy that contains amethyst and citrine and adventurine and whatever, every color of the rainbow. And if that amethyst wasn't there, the energy of that grid would change. So I can't do anything about the other people, crystals in the grid, but I can do something about being the embodiment of my energy. And that actually shifts things, right? That actually shifts things. So to me, that's that reminder when I'm feeling off center, I'm like a dull, cloudy, unpolished crystal. Let me clear my energy, center and stand in that strength. Again, this is going to be such an important skill with 8 because it is about power and you centering and finding your center and standing in that. That is you being healthily connected to your power and then being willing to let that ripple out, right? Sometimes those ripples will go places and sometimes they won't. That's not your business. It's literally not your business. Right? It's such a bit of a challenge for us, right? Focus creates momentum, reciprocity. I love it. Asking ourselves the question, what momentum is this a result of? Yes. Love it, love it, love it. Focus. Last year, I learned to rely on myself. Imagine if we just kept telling ourselves that, you know, like through all the shit I went through last year, I learned to rely on myself. We're not going to glorify isolation in that statement, but we are going to glorify our own level of discernment, trust, intuition, and self-connection, right? Imposter syndrome. Yeah. Beautiful. I'm just reading comments here. Heart-centered leadership, depth, sacred triggers. When it gets boring, go deeper. Yes. I have read The Alchemist. It's such a great book. Thank you. Embodiment of energy, centering and standing in our power. Yeah. I thank you, Lynette. Honestly, if you take nothing from this call, with all the fancy words around it, it's like whatever's going on, whatever's happening out here, let me come back to here, like anchor, center, like polish my energy, right? In whatever way that means to you. And then I get to have my energy be at cause now, right? Rather than in reaction. That will change everything. That is healthy leadership. That is healthy expression of power. And the cool thing about that is for those of you who also said you want to work on your intuition and your soul gifts, that is strengthening it. Every single time you do that, it will get stronger and stronger and stronger. It will get so powerful because your power and your energy, that is what's available for you to use, right? That's what's available for you to work with. And then you get to play with it however you want. Okay, so we're basically at the 1 hour mark. I told you guys this is going to be long. So it is what it is. Yeah. Yeah. I want to just maybe speak to that for a quick second. Some people found 2023 hard. Some people found it easier. I would hazard to guess that more than 50% found it hard. In general, odd numbers are hard. Harder than even numbers. Okay. This is a generalization. It's not a guarantee. So I'm not saying that it's always going to be this way, but in general, an odd number like a 7 is more challenging. It's a disrupting number. You were meant to have been disrupted last year. So if you were disrupted, good job, you're on track. Like that's not a problem. That's just the human in us hates change. It hates when things feel bad and wrong and messed up. Like I get that. It sucks. But also reminding ourselves like, yeah, the 7 disrupted me. That's kind of the 7's job. Okay. Like I'm here, I'm standing, what was forged in me and what did I learn? I am a 7 and I have lots of 7 energy in my chart. It was hard for me too. It was incredibly hard for me. And I love 7 energy in so many ways. But I also like look at challenge differently at this stage in my life. And I don't know if it's because I'm a 7, but sometimes I'm like, oh, it's hard. Okay. Like, let's just go through it. Like, let's just like, instead of trying to run away from it, what's that story of the buffalo? Something about the buffalo is the only animal that walks into the storm. Because it's like, if you walk into the storm and meet it head first, you're going to come out the other side a lot faster than if you try to run away from it and the storm's chasing you, right? Then it's going to last like 3 days rather than 1 day. So like the 7 is like, let's just fucking do it, right? Let's just do it. Let's just figure it out. In the challenge, I will become clear. In the challenge, I'll get my answers. I'll know what's true and what's not true. I mean, if I come out upside down or right side up, at least I have my answer, right? At least now I know, and now I can do something different. And I know that makes it sound light, and I know it's not. Some people went through stuff that wasn't light, right? I know that, and that's hard, and it's important to give yourself space for both whenever you possibly can. Deal with the intensity of it first, obviously, hopefully with some support, and then eventually give yourself space for both. 8 in general it's an even number, obviously. In general, even numbers tend to be more balanced. Okay. 8 is 2 4s. 4 tends to be relatively lucky. Even the 8 energy that we're dealing with this year is made up of a 4 and 2 2s. The 2s represent intuition and connection and collaboration. The 4 represents grounded structure and leadership. Okay. So these are the themes that are going to be happening all year round. So when something is a theme, you're going to experience the high side of it as well as the low side of it. While your intuition is probably the strongest it's ever been in your entire life right now, thanks to the 7. So you have the intuition part dialed in. The connection and the collaboration part will be part of your lesson to learn this year, depending on where you're at with connection and collaboration, which is why community is so important. And then the 4 is all about structured leadership, which we talked a lot about, right? So systems, leadership, benevolent leadership, healthy leadership, integrated leadership, all those pieces. So I do think a prediction could be this year will be relatively easier. However, that doesn't mean it's without its challenges, right? So yeah, I love it. You guys are feeling the description between all the different numbers. Yeah, totally. Yeah, the Nike slogan, just do it, could be, if you have 7s in your chart, or if you are a 7, it could be your personal mantra, to be honest. 7s are like, ooh, let me find the edge. Okay, let me push it. Yeah. All right. How are you guys feeling? Do you want me to go into the months? I was going to spend a few minutes going into the months. I'd hoped that I would already be partway through that by now, so I could let you go at the 90-minute mark. I'm guessing if I go into the months, it'll probably take me another 20 minutes to half an hour. Maybe 40 minutes. I don't know. I'm horrible at telling time when I'm in this zone. So it's going to be what it's going to be. Yeah, you guys are feeling it. Okay, let's do it. Like I said, feel free to note the time. We're an hour and 13 minutes in. That way, if you want to come back to this later, you can. Time is irrelevant. What even is time? Oh, you guys are my people. Okay. So January is going to feel like a bit of a false start. Okay. This is why I was kind of inclined to do the forecast in December, even though in years past I've done it in January, because January is a 9 energy month. Okay. That means many of us are going to feel like retreating, going inward, going into reflection. It's not going to feel like the type of energy you think January should feel like. So stop judging yourself. It's not about like getting into January with the bang and forging forward. Like, it's okay. Like, we can just go in a little more mindfully and a little more like deliberately. And the 9 is all about, I'm not going to overly worry about what's happening over here. I'm going to just go inwards. I'm going to be guided by my own inner light. That's the mantra of the 9. Be guided by your own inner light. So be a little bit more discerning, take a lot of time in reflection, simplify and pare down. Don't overly commit to things. Let yourself set a higher standard for yourself. In numerology energy, it's going to feel like February is kind of the start of the year, because February is a 1. So if you can give yourself permission to just be a little more fluid in January, I think that will probably feel good to you. I will say, when I give recommendations like that, your intuition is number one. So if I say to you, I don't know if you're going to want to start anything in January, but your intuition is telling you, oh no, I have to start a thing. Don't listen to me. Listen to your intuition, right? There are some energies that can create really, really well in a 9 energy. It's just a matter of being discerning and knowing what's best for you. And if you need the permission slip to not force yourself to do it, here it is, right? Don't force yourself to push anything in January. Try to stay in flow as much as possible and really go inwards. Oh, and that's a good point. Someone's mentioning in the chat about your birthday. So your birthday is also truly your inner new year, right? And so depending on where your birthday lands, you may or may not feel January starts as strongly as other people do. Fair enough. Your birthday is your new year. Let that be your thing, right? But the energies I'm going through right now are universal. So you will be influenced by them to some degree. And then it's both, right? It's my personal forecast and then the universal forecast, and they play together. Okay. So higher standards, be guided by your own light. I'm going to point out a couple of important dates that are jumping out to me. On January 6th, we're going to have an opportunity to be truly faced with our own sense of power and our relationship with our own power and whatever comes of that. So whatever your relationship is with your power, just take some time on the 6th to reflect on that. On the 7th, there's going to be a very, very strong spirit, intuition, connection with spirit day. So if that's something that you enjoy, give yourself space to tap in whichever way works for you. There's so much energy of change coming up in an 8 energy year. I don't often associate 8 with change because it's about going deep, right? But I think what it is it makes me think of the, what's that expression about, how did he carve the statue of David? He revealed him by removing everything that wasn't him, something like that. So if you think of it that way of like, I'm going to go deep into something, the extraneous pieces have to fall away, right? And the 8 is preparing for the 9. That's a very good point, Leanne. Absolutely. So anyways, on the 9th of January, we are going to be faced with some opportunities to do things a little bit differently and to make some changes. So again, hence why I'm like, don't force yourself to commit to stuff before you're ready, because you might want to change things up again around the 9th. The 11th of January is going to be a very rich inner world day. You will be very inspired creatively based on your own inspiration, intuitive hits, inner world imagination, whatever's going on, right? So make time for that if you like it. On the 17th is our first abundance activation day. We have a few of these really important abundance activation days coming up. You get to play with them however you like. There's going to be abundance energy flowing around you. So you choose, how do I work with that? I've actually scheduled a plan your year workshop on that day, which I'm going to share information with you guys on. It's going to be a workshop where we can come together and map out our year, taking into account your personal energies. You'll get personal energy information from me. So if you guys want to know your personal code and map that out, we're going to do it on the abundance activation day, because that's the day we want to activate our abundance, right? If you want money, if you want love, if you want health, whatever, it's all abundance. Okay. And then on the 22nd, it's really about integrating habits for change. Okay. So that's going to be really, really important as well. The summary of this month to me was very much about how do we ground in the new foundations by letting go of habits that keep us small. So let go of the things that won't let you activate that level of depth, leadership, and abundance that is available for you in this year. Okay, that's January. I'm going to try to zip through these a little fast because I will also be doing a forecast every month, as you guys know. And that's when I go deep on each month, but I just want to give you high level so you can kind of see what's coming for you, right? February is a 1. And I already kind of hinted that February is going to feel like the start like the new year is started. So it's like, okay, day one energy, let's go, right? One is about ideas, activation, initiation, new things that we're going to move forward. On the 9th of February, we have a very strong creative day available to us. This is a great day to mind map, brainstorm, dream board, when you get the big paper out with the colored markers, like the post-it notes, whatever you do, if you don't do any of those things, the other thing I would encourage you to do is to voice note one of those people in your community, um, and like call it into being. Okay. So I don't know if you guys ever play this game. I don't know if I made it up or if I got it from somewhere, but like to speak out loud that which you want to be true. And I'm not of the belief that the language matters, that you're super precise with it. I think it's okay if you say things like, I want, or I have, or it's true, or I'm creating. Like, say it however feels good to you, but speak out loud. Like, I'm welcoming more abundance into my bank account. I'm paying off debt. I'm experiencing greater inflow of clients. I'm experiencing greater ease in my household. My children are fighting less and they're actually getting along together. Like, oh, I'm having so much fun with my friends and I found this great community and we spend this time together and I feel so inspired. And oh, wow, the kids actually ate their vegetables today and this is so great, right? Like, speak it, speak it. And this is another thing. I started playing this game back in the fall because I don't know if you guys heard this story or what, but people kept saying things like sales are down, people aren't spending money, it's a recession. And I was like, no, it's not. People are spending money. And so every time I saw someone spend money, I would DM a friend and I'd be like, look, people are spending money. They sold out of the 18-foot skeletons at Home Depot the other day in Halloween. Oh, look, people are spending money. The bread that we like to eat is sold out at the bakery. Oh, look, people are spending money. There's a lineup to get into this restaurant. And I was like purposely seeing it, witnessing it, speaking it out loud, and reminding myself people are spending money. There are many realities that are active at once. And like, let me decide which one I want to play with. Thank you very much. That's my choice, right? Okay. The 10th of February is all about connection. So for those of you who want to grow and build that level of connection, it is a great time to reach out to people, to have a meeting circle, whether it's virtual or in person, to have that friend that you voice note, whatever that looks like for you, find those connections. And if that feels hard for you, find it in easy ways, right? Find it like by joining things like this. This is an easy way to tap into a community. It requires no risk and no investment on your part, right? So finding and activating community on the 10th. It's also going to be a very strong intuition day. So oftentimes when we see connection, it's connection with other people. Yes, but it's also connection with our higher self, with our guides, with spirit, with universe, whatever that is. The 24th, you guys, we have an abundance full moon. This is going to be such a beautiful full moon, the 24th of February. This is all about your inner game of abundance. Honestly, all this year, because the 8 cares about depth, your abundance is going to be a reflection of your inner game, but also recognizing abundance is only meaningful to you if it's aligned with your inner game, right? Nobody wants to be the like Scrooge McDuck millionaire who has no friends and hates his life, right? We would like to be the abundant being that has an abundance of wealth and finance and also love and connection and whatever your values are, freedom, adventure, play, joy, whatever. Okay. So on the 24th, on the abundance full moon, play this game. To me, abundance is. Okay. To me, abundance is. Yay, it's Tana's birthday. I love that you get an abundance moon on your birthday. What a good birthday present. So the first time I started playing that game with myself, I was like, ooh, abundance is walking my kids to school. I grew up way out of town, so walking to school was not an option for me growing up. So walking to school feels so abundant to me. I'm like, this is glorious. Abundance to me is like my hippie coffee in a to-go mug down at the beach, watching the sunrise. Like, oh, that feels so rich, right? That feels so rich. So ask yourself, what is abundance to you? Yes, not having to question if I can afford things, right? Being able to invest in what's a priority to me. So asking yourself that, what is abundance to me? Play this game, but especially play it on the 24th. And if you can think of a couple things and actually do them. So if my abundance is drinking my hippie coffee on the beach, like I'm going to go do it that day to remind myself that abundance is available to me at any point in time in my life, right? Like, yeah, I want more money in my bank account, but I can also drink coffee on the beach right now. Like both can be true. Okay. So the 25th, the 25th of February, imposter syndrome may creep in, but you are going to be given the choice to commit to being the expert. There is nobody that has the same skill set and energetic makeup as you. Nobody. So you get to be the number one expert at that. You get to take your lifetime experience, all the things you've done and created in your life, and create your own methodology, your own magic, your own flavor, and you get to be the expert in it. So the 25th is that commitment to that. Like you're not anybody else. You are you. You get to commit to that level of expertise. Okay, that's February. Let's go into March. March is a 2 energy month. It is going to be all about connection, collaboration, coming together, intuition. There's going to be actually quite a few opportunities for karmic change and adjustment. So, excuse me, in March is going to be a very important time for you to be number one, listening to your own intuition and knowing that you know what's best for you, inviting in a level of discernment for yourself, and knowing that you can have a counsel that you go to of the most trusted people in your life, but they don't choose for you. They can give you insight, guidance, wisdom. Sometimes you need those people to be that like check in your life. Um, but also trusting yourself to take that wisdom from for yourself, right? It's going to be very, very important that you have that level of discernment. Because here's the thing, even people who love us and truly, truly want the best for us, they see history, right? That's what they see when they look at us. When you look at someone who you've known for years, you're seeing them as like a collage of every version of them you've ever met, right? So they actually don't know what you're projecting forward, right? Maybe they can intuitively pick pieces of it up. A great friend will always see the best in you, right? A great friend will always see you in your highest good. But still, they don't know what you see projected forward. And if you are here to create waves of change, which I believe you are, the thing that you see moving forward, other people have maybe never seen before, right? So if you see it and nobody else sees it, who's to say if you're right or wrong? Who's to say if you're right or wrong? The only one who knows the answer to that is your heart. And you may not know, right? Which is where the trusting yourself came in from last year of like, I don't know, but I can't not find out. That's what I ask myself. Can you live with not knowing? Right? If I can't live with not knowing, then I have to figure it out. And if I fall flat on my face, then well, whatever. Done that before. Wouldn't be the first time. I'm sure I can handle it again. I'm sure it's going to happen 50 more times, right? And so asking yourself those questions is going to be so, so important in this March year. Yes, taking counsel, wise counsel. Above all else, trust yourself and your intuition. On the 10th and the 11th, there's going to be this very interesting energy of this. We talked a lot about feminine and masculine power, but I also want you to think of it in terms of money and finance. Okay. So the masculine financial relationship you might have and the feminine financial relationship, what you might have. And how might anchoring in a level of abundance that's integrated, right? That's integrated in both. So if you imagine what would be a more like outward expressing financial goal, or a masculine minded financial goal versus a feminine minded or inward expressing financial goal? And do I allow for both? Right? Do I allow for both? So anchoring in, reflecting potentially on your finances or your budgeting or your approach to money. And it's like, what is my integrated approach here? I do feel like the same with power. The pendulum had been very far in this masculine energy for many, many years. I think it was the same with money. And depending on where you land now in your own personal experience, you might have the opportunity to be like, well, what's an integrated approach for me? And how do I get to fulfill both? Because the true power lies in the integration of those two dynamics, right? That is the true power, is being able to play and work with them both as needed. Massive abundance mindset work around the 24th. Okay. Massive abundance mindset. The things that you create, like the whole, what's his name? The guy who lived in Hawaii, who's passed away, who's wrote a million books. Last name starts with a D. I can't remember his name. Someone will say it in the chat in a minute. Thoughts become things. Wayne Dyer. Thank you. Thank you.
Thoughts become things is Mike Dooley.
Oh yeah. No, Wayne Dyer is who I'm thinking of. Thoughts become things. Yes. So, oops. So, mindset around abundance, the conversations I'm having in my head. What is the story I'm telling myself? And that's a great one to ask yourself. Like, if you catch yourself in a loop, a thought pattern of any sort, asking yourself, what is the story I'm telling myself? And reminding yourself that, yeah, it might feel like it's the only story in the world, but it's a story. There's always alternative versions. Even if I can't see it right now, there's probably another alternative here, right? Just giving yourself permission to like talk about it as like, it's a story, right? It's a story. What else could be possible with the story? What are other alternative versions? Okay, and this is where the rules that I was talking about before comes into play. On the 25th, experiment. The rules are being rewritten right now. The rules are being rewritten by our actions and our energy, right? I mean, our actions are a result of our energy. So the rules are being rewritten by your energy followed by your action. So if I know that, if I know the rules are being rewritten by the doers, what can I experiment with? Like, nothing's been decided. There's not like a ledger tablet rule thing right now. There may have been in the past. It may have felt like that in the past. Like, this is how it was. This is how to do things. That might have been true in the past. I don't know. It is not true anymore. It is not true anymore. So many of the rules that I was told to live my life by are patently false, right? They are not even close to being true at all. So if that's the case, we're rewriting the rule book. Ooh, let me play with that. What would I like to be true? What would I like some of the rules to look like? And I will only know how accurate that is for me if I play with it and if I experiment. So let yourself experiment, right? Let yourself be creative and playful around the so-called kind of rules that you live by and follow, particularly when it comes to abundance mindset, the things that you think, the thoughts that you think, the beliefs that you have around money and abundance and wealth, all of it. And then we're going to wrap up March with some massive karmic change. So oftentimes when I see karmic change coming in, I feel like it's karmic. To me, karma is always a reflection of energy flow. So if energy has flown in one direction for a while, it's going to need to shift and flow in the other direction. It is about balance, equilibrium, and ebb and flow, right? So remember we talked about how important the law of momentum was? I feel like this is going to be one of those times where you're going to start to see some evidence show up of like, what was the momentum that I was committed to, right? You're going to start to see some of that kicking into physical form, potentially around the 31st of March. April. Okay, April is a 3 energy month. You are going to be feeling a lot of creative fire in April. It's going to be very much about activation, experimentation, trying things, implementing things, and letting that feedback come to you. Let yourself, like, put yourself in the feedback loop. Let yourself have beta tests. Let yourself have experiments. Let yourself just be like, I'm just going to try this out. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be a 10 out of 10. I'm just going to play with it and see what happens. Let it be an experiment to receive the feedback. Ooh, I like how this went. I like how this felt. Didn't like this, didn't like that. Okay, now I can tweak it and adjust it. Remember that the rules are flexible right now. We're making new ones as we go. So use that to your advantage. On the 8th of April, there's going to be another strong abundance day. This is particularly around abundance leadership. So what does it mean for you to embody leadership as it comes to abundance? What does that look like for you? Could be leadership with your own life. Like, for example, say you wanted to activate greater finances. You might say to yourself, as the leader of my household with money, I am going to do a budget review. I am going to explore all the ways I can make money. I am going to look at what ways are the funnest to make money. I am going to look at things I could sell in my garage to make money. I don't know, like whatever you can think of to experiment and play with leadership. And it's about intuition as well. So thinking to yourself, like tuning in and being like, ooh, what does financial leadership mean to me? And how can I activate that today? Right? And just see what comes up. Oftentimes I want to just give this as a, I don't know, thought is if I'm giving you a day, like today, this time I said April 8th, if you don't do it on April 8th, the opportunity is not gone. You can still do it on the 9th. You can do it on the 7th. You could even do it a month later, but the energy is present for you to support you. And whether that triggers you to take action on a different day, that's fine. Let it be what it is. Ooh, taking your kids on spring break that week. Well, that's abundant to be able to take your kids on spring break. I'm like, to me, that's abundant. And Lord knows being a parent requires all the leadership. So, yeah. And it's fun too. That's a great point. It's fun to look back. So it's fun to, get to the end of the month and then look back and see, ooh, what happened on these days and how did it align with the energy? The 21st of April is going to be a strong wisdom download day. So if you like to receive new ideas and new insights, make space in that day to do that. Whether it's like you take a shower and a bath, or whether it's you like to journal or you like to hike, whatever that is. Maybe it's, if you're like on vacation, on spring break with your kids, maybe it's just being exposed to new circumstances and new situations that cause your mind to think differently about life. And that would be a beautiful opportunity to create some new wisdom. On the 23rd, you are being invited to experiment. In order to feel solid footing, you also need to feel where is not solid footing, right? Like, I don't rock climb, but I like to hike. So like if I'm hiking on a sketchy area with a lot of loose rocks, I don't just like put all my weight down on the next step. I kind of like put my foot on it and like sort of see if it looks like it's going to hold me, like I know I'm solid because I know where I'm wobbly. Do you guys feel what I'm saying with that? So on the 23rd, experiment to feel where the wobbly bits are so you know what the solid bits are, right? And if you experiment with something that's not wobbly, then it's your solid too, right? Be experimental. The 3 energy is creativity. So it's all about creative fire, expansion, activation, experimentation, trying new things. Yes, yes, yes. Somebody's got it down in the chat there beautifully. Thank you, Leanne. Okay, April, let's go to May. So May is a 4 energy day. This is when some of the leadership pieces we talked about earlier are going to feel prominent to you. Okay, because 4 is about grounded, benevolent, anchored, solid leadership. A 4 and an 8 together could feel a little bit heavy. Don't let yourself fall under burden. Okay, that would be one of the shadow sides of this energy of the month. Let yourself keep it a little softer, a little more playful. Bring in some lightness where you can, bring in some inner child where you can, just to kind of lighten it up a little bit. But it is all about how do I activate that level of like service-based, heart-based leadership, right? I'm also going to get a strong sense of who in my world do I look to as leaders? Who feels solid and who feels wobbly to me, right? Activate your discernment. Just because other people are like, oh, this person's a great leader, that's great for them. If it doesn't feel right to you, it's okay that you feel differently than your people feel. Trust your discernment above all, right? You will start to see who feels solid and who doesn't. Your nervous system is also going to be an important, I mean, it's going to be important all year. I already mentioned that, but in this energy, it's going to be that kind of like so-called canary in a coal mine, or like your leading indicator. That's the word I'm looking for. Your leading indicator. Your nervous system is going to tell you, is going to set to ring the alarm bells when things aren't right. So that's great. Tune into it, right? Allow it to be that leader with you, right? Allow it to be that partner with you, I guess I should say. Bring in lightness when you can. We are going to be so hungry for change. This is going to be a very strong theme in May. And we are going to be looking for ourselves to lead us through change, but we are also going to be looking to see who around us can handle change. The thing with change is nobody knows what's on the other side, right? Nobody knows. So reminding ourselves, like, just because somebody thinks they have it all figured out or seems like they have all the answers, I get to bring in my level of inner authority and discernment and intuition to feel if this is true and accurate for me. Their reality might be different than mine, and that's totally fine. Doesn't mean anything's good or bad. It means I get to choose from my power center as to how I want to move forward with this. So letting yourself activate change within you, whether or not you feel other people are on board or not, doesn't matter, right? There's going to be a massive opportunity for transformation on the 5th of May. Massive. So it's like on the 1st of May, massive change. The 5th of May, massive transformation. Okay. This is, even though normally I'm like, oh, 4 and 8 is pretty balanced. This time in May, it feels there's disruption to bring about better balance, right? Because balance that's like faulty is not balance at all, right? Like, it's like we need to like properly repair an unhealthy foundation, right? Okay. Again, on the 6th and the 7th, we have more abundance activation days available to us. It's the 6th and the 7th side by side. So abundance activation. So again, whatever that means to you, use that to work with that. By the 15th of the month, you want to have a solid system in place. So if you had some revelations or insights or intuitive hits or downloads about like, this is how I want to move forward. This is the change I'm making. This is how abundance is going to feel for me. This is how I want to play with it. By the 15th of the month, create some of those like small habits so that you can work with the law of compound interest, right? So if you're like, oh, I've decided I'm going to pay off all my debt. So maybe by the 15th of the month, you've downloaded somebody's debt repayment system and you've got the spreadsheet tracking underway, and you know every day you're going to go and you're going to check in and you're going to do what you have to do to like do that, you know, whatever it is. But make sure that by the 15th, you have like the task type concept of your habit down, right? Or maybe it's simply like, I'm just going to log into my checking account every day, log into my credit card every day and see what my balance is. If you were to do that every day, aligning it with one of these activation days to activate abundance, that's the kind of thing that's like the tiny thing that takes 1 minute that can change your life. The 19th, Let yourself do it differently. Again, the change is being highlighted again. So whether it's like one change that you're being asked to sustain or a few little changes throughout the month, yeah, there's a lot of change coming. So I really feel like the leadership piece is going to be really important this month. On the 23rd of May, this is going to be an intense full moon, you guys. This is probably going to be the most intense full moon of the entire year. It is a time to detox. Whether you want to do a physical cleanse, just maybe sip some detox tea at night, whether you want to like purge some cupboards or paperwork, whether you want to do like a mental and emotional purge by writing things down on a piece of paper and burning them, you'll know what you need to do, but let yourself spend some time inward, releasing and detoxing and cleansing on the 23rd in whichever capacity feels right for you. Will be intense. So if you know these kinds of things, is the other thing I like about this, because if you know moons affect me, and if this is going to be an intense moon, then book a session with someone, like get a massage, get a healing, get, like set yourself up for success. Right? If I know I'm going to have an intense week, I will book in with an energy worker before and after to prepare me and to help me recover. Like, it's okay. We can want that for ourselves, right? And then on the 31st of the month, it's going to be all about 31st of May, we're talking here. It's going to be all about inner game and mindset and really devoting ourselves to that discerned level of thinking, that higher, I don't know, I don't like to always use the word higher, but that more effective mindset, or that more clear, potent mindset to create the type of life that we really, really desire. Oh yeah. If you're feeling intuitively that you're meant to chop your hair, that could be a great time to do it. Um, the inner mindset game is the 31st of May. Okay, let's take a look at June. June is going to be the tipping point in a lot of ways. June is going to be the tipping point. So how I look at these energies that cycle through is we start to come into them. We're meant to learn a level of mastery with it. Like we're meant to play with it, experiment with it until we can work with it. And then we are meant to have a level of comfort with it of like, yeah, I know how to work with this energy now. Like, ooh, I found my footing here, right? It's like I've acclimatized to this energy. June, that should start to come around where you're like, okay, I'm starting to get you 8. I know what you're up to. Okay. I can work with you now. I got this. Right. And so just that sense of like, okay, here we are. Bring in some lightness, bring in some play, soften a little bit. Not everything has to be hard. Not everything has to be stressful. Some things can just be fun and silly. You can laugh at it, make it a joke. I will say, take this time to check in with why you're doing what you're doing. Know why, right? Really know why, because this is a great time to either focus in on that, to refine it, update it. Some of you might need to change it, right? That's okay. You can shift and adjust it as you go for sure. 5 likes travel, likes adventure, and it's very much about the inner child. So please, please, please take some time to do something for your inner child. In whatever way that speaks to you. Go play on the playground, go take a little road trip. Maybe it's your inner teenager that needs to come out and you need to stop at 7-Eleven and load up the car with some junk food. And like, I don't know, when I was a teenager, I'm in Kelowna. So when I was a teenager, the thing we would do is we drive to Vancouver for the weekend. So maybe that's what you do, right? Whatever it is. I love it. Oh, yes. That's such a wonderful energy to get married in. So fun, so playful. Okay. So on the 3rd of June is going to be an activation of knowing, is what I've written down here. You're going to be given over the 3rd and the 4th of June, you're going to have these knowingness come in where you're going to be like, ooh, I can't think like that anymore. Those thoughts don't belong to me. Those thoughts aren't mine. It's time to release them, dissolve them, whatever it is, because this is what is true for me. This is what thought is going to work for me right now, right? We all go through stages in our life, depending on where we're at, where a certain belief system is true for a time, and then all of a sudden it's not true anymore. Okay. And then again, another time that will no longer be true. And that's a good thing, right? That's you evolving. So you'll have one of those moments on the 3rd and the 4th of June, which I think will be really, really powerful, because into the new moon on the 6th of June, it's a very strong, intuitive abundance activation moon. So again, it's another abundance moon. This one is about your intuition, giving you new ways to play with abundance. So it's going to be intuitive and it's going to be experimental, right? That's going to be the 6th of June. The 21st of June is going to be very much about mindset work again, and kind of that healthy thought pattern, releasing not serving mindsets, checking yourself, like even just simply asking yourself the question of like, just because I think it doesn't make it true. Like, is there an alternative explanation? Is there another truth here? Right. And this is one of the things that I've loved doing for myself, and I've done for myself for many, many years now, is if I'm like, you know, it started out with being an entrepreneur and a single mom, right? I have 3 kids. They're little, they run age 6, 9, 13. I'm a single mom and I run my own business. So when I first started, I only had 1 kid, mind you, when I first started. But when I first started, I was like, being an entrepreneur and being a mom is really hard. And then when I became a single mom, I was like, being an entrepreneur and being a single mom is really hard. And then I started to ask myself, like, okay, the story I'm telling myself is that it's hard, right? Is there another alternative here? And so for me, what I needed to do was to look in the world around me and to be like, is there anyone out there for whom that's not true? Right? Who can I think of an example of someone who's a mom and an entrepreneur, and it's not that hard? It's actually a lot easier than being a mom and in corporate. And as soon as I asked that question, I literally came up with a bazillion examples, right? And so for you, the invitation would be, what is my hard story? Right? What is my hard story? And like, can I think of some examples where that's not true? Because guaranteed, if it's not true for them, it may not be true for you. I'm not saying it's going to for sure be the case, but I am saying it puts a crack in things. And all you need is one little crack to let the light in. That's all you need, right? That was the 21st. And we talked about this in the beginning again, but leadership on the 30th, choosing love over and over and over again, right? Choosing love over and over and over again, right? Yeah, James, totally. Running your own business creates space that corporate might not let me. 100%. I proved that to myself 2 weeks ago when I kind of cleared my schedule to help my daughter with the fundraiser. I could never have done that if I worked in corporate to the extent that I did, right? So yeah, yes, the 21st is a solstice. It's the solstice and the full moon. Thank you for that reminder, Kelsey. That is going to be a very powerful day for us to rewrite our stories. A very powerful way to rewrite our stories. So ask yourself, what are my hard stories? What are the stories I tell myself about why my life is hard or why something's crap or whatever? And can I find someone for whom that's not true? It's going to be an epic solstice. I feel like that's a dance in the forest around the fire solstice party. Okay, July. Going into July. July is a 7 energy month. It's going to be, or sorry, July is not a 7 energy month. July is a 6 energy month. Okay. July is a 6 energy month. So it's going to be all about harmony, balance, flow, integration, family, community, It's going to be about noticing the pendulum swing. So if energy has been moving in one direction for a long time, it's ready for it to try to find some level of equilibrium. Okay. On the 2nd of July, it's going to be giving us opportunities, the 2nd and the 3rd, to look at our money and our values differently. Our financial abundance is always going to be some level of reflection around what we prioritize as important, right? Our values. So just checking in with yourself, like, what are my values? Do I get to play and experiment with them? And how does that affect the way I interact with money, right? On the 5th of the month, a super strong intuition day and another abundance activation day. It's a new moon. There's a lot of money energy in this moon, as well as intuition and connection. A great day to get together with other people who are abundantly minded and speak your stories out loud, or set some goals, or do a vision board, or whatever it is for you, but really let your intuition speak to you around expanding wealth through community. Okay, where are we going to go next? We're going to talk about the 21st of July. It is a 9 energy full moon. And this full moon is really asking you, simplify things. Simplify things. If you are overscheduled and over busy, your intuition cannot come in. Your ideas cannot come in. Your inspiration cannot come in. Even if you got a hit of like, ooh, I could do this thing. You're like, yeah, like maybe in 2 months from now, when I have an opening in my calendar, like in 3 Tuesdays. Like, that's crazy, right? So pare things down, give yourself some space, right? One of the books I love that talks about the way we can let wisdom in is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And she talks about like ideas having like their own kind of consciousness and how they choose to co-create with different people at different points in time, and how you need to make yourself available for that. So if you feel like your inspiration's been lacking, it's like, well, have you made yourself available for that? Or are you just so booked up full that your brain is full and nothing can land? Also remembering that because the 8 energy is always calling us back to a level of mastery and devotion, it immediately flashed to my mind how the masters of like old days spent a lot of time in contemplation. Like they would sit in their garden, or they would sit at their desk and look out the window and just like sit. We don't really do that anymore. If we have 5 minutes to sit, we like hop on our phones, right? So it's like, can you challenge yourself to sit in simplistic contemplation without needing to have the phone, or even not needing to have like the tarot deck in the journal? Like maybe that's also keeping you busy. Maybe you can actually just like sit and stare for a minute and see what happens. So contemplation. And then again, end of the month again on the 31st, like 2 months in a row now that we cap the month this way, but leading with love, activating through love, moving forward with love. And so you guys hear this and you're like, oh, yay, more love leadership. This is great. It is great. But it's also going to illuminate contrast. It doesn't mean everyone's going to choose to lead with love. It means you may, because you're showing up here, but you may also get triggered by people who aren't. And again, it's what we talked about at the beginning, where we're like, okay, I can only control my own energy and my own self. What's my center? How do I polish my crystal? Right? And how do I get to be that embodiment? What can I do to influence ripples in the pond? Okay, August. August is a 7 energy month. It is going to be all about faith, trust, spiritual connection, connecting in with those deeper why questions of like, why am I here? Like, actually, why am I here? Like, what is the meaning of life? Those like nerdy questions that are so fun to sit with, and just really like, what is this all for? Like, why are we doing this? What is the point of this all? Right? And asking yourself, all of you will have different answers for that. Thank God. Like, that's a beautiful thing. But give yourself time to explore that a little bit, right? Again, not everyone even cares to answer those kinds of questions or cares to ask them, but giving yourself some time to just connect inward, connecting back in with that intuition and that trust, August is the same energy as all of 2023 was. So giving yourself some space to like be with your spirit, right? I think is really important. One of the energies that came so loud to me when I tapped into August was the concept of happy money. Have you guys heard this concept before? That money contains consciousness. There's happy money and there's unhappy money. And the money in your wallet, the money in your bank account, the money you spend, the money you take, like receive through income or whatever, it has consciousness to it. Just like water has consciousness to it. And you can drink happy water and you can drink sad water. So spending some time being like, what is the consciousness of the money I'm engaging in? Like if money is energy, right? We've heard that before. If money is energy, if money represents a current, a flow, a currency, what kind of flow is it? Is it happy flow? Is it sad flow? Is it mad flow? Money talks, right? So there's not going to be like a hard and fast answer here. Well, maybe there is. Maybe you'll ask the question and you'll boom, get a download from your money of like, this is what you need to do to create more happy money in your life. And I hope that's true, but it's such a powerful concept to start asking yourself, like, when I engage with money, physical money, abundance, wealth, am I engaging with it from a level of consciousness that I enjoy or not? Right? How does it feel? And if I like it, great. And if I don't like it, what am I going to do about it? On the 4th, it's going to be, I put money lies down and then I crossed it out and put money untruths because I was like, is money lies a little bit harsh? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But remember when I said the story, the rules are being rewritten right now? The rules around leadership are being rewritten. The rules around money are being rewritten. You can see that physically in the way the banks work, in the way, different kinds of alternative currencies are working, in the way barter is working. You can see money rules physically changing, which means the energetics of money are also changing and have already changed and are in the process of changing because none of these systems have like fully ironed themselves out yet. I don't know that there's anybody that's overly thrilled with the way our current monetary policy is unfolding. The economist dork in me will come out every now and then, but I know most Canadians are not happy with monetary policy, which means money rules are changing, right? We are not following money rules the way we used to. So that's why I was like, is it money lies or is it money untruths? Whatever it is, the way we engage with money is different. So how do I allow the consciousness of money and my consciousness to interact to create what I want? Is this a little too money myths? That's a good one. Money stories. Truth is about perspective and perception. 100%, right? You can literally take, money is one of those things where you can say a complete opposing statement and find people on both sides of it every single time. Money is hard, money is easy. Money is fun, money is stressful. Money comes and goes, money is a constant. Guaranteed, you can immediately think of like 10 people in your life that are completely divided on that, right? Play with it. Where do you sit? How does that feel? How does that make money feel? Right? How does money feel about it? Even ask your money, how do you feel when I say that you're hard versus you're fun? How do you feel about that? Money? See what the money says. Ask your money, what can we do together that would make you multiply? See what your money tells you. Maybe it has an answer for you. The 19th full moon. It's going to be an 8 energy day in the 8 energy year. And there's also this like double 7 energy as well. Again, this is about going with your intuition to follow the depth you desire to follow, right? Going with your intuition to follow the depth that you desire to follow. Let your intuition lead the way. Draw your own damn map, right? Nobody knows what they're doing. Literally nobody knows what they're doing. Anybody who thinks they know what they're doing is, well, whatever. They've got a belief system that works for them. but there's no way of proving whether it's wrong or right. Like, what is even wrong and right? Like, what is even, right? So let your intuition explore that, right? You've got, I'm not sure, you've got like moral rights and wrongs, but even that's up for debate depending on where you live, right? So, yeah. Okay. We're going to go into September. I can feel that now. Okay, so you guys will notice the further out in distance I get, the less tangible I can come. So you're definitely going to want to listen into the monthly forecast because I can get a lot more specific when it's less time, right? Less distance. Um, so, and why is that? Is anyone curious as to why that is? Like, why is it easy to forecast close than far? It's because the timeline's available to us, right? There's certain timelines available to you now, but they're narrower in scope because of how long it takes to create. Whereas the timelines farther out, there's way more available to you. So you have more time to prepare for that. So because there's more variety available, sometimes it can be harder to pinpoint predictions. But I'll still tell you the vibe and then you play with it. Okay, so September is going to be peak energy for the year. It's an 8 energy month in an 8 energy year. What that means is you've gone through basically a full manifestation cycle. Coming back around in October, we're going to be repeating January energy. So you've moved through this entire cycle to learn to master the 8. By the time September rolls around, ideally you'll have gained these skills to work with them. These skills of devotion, dedication, mastery, abundance, power, all of this, and you'll have like a sense of like, okay, I don't need my training wheels anymore, right? I can like play with this now. Okay. So you have found a groove, ideally, with your level of abundance, power, responsibility, and discipline. On the 2nd of September, it's going to be about raising your standards. Okay. It's about raising your standards. It's about setting up this, like, this is what I want. This is where we're going. On the 17th of September, we're going to be playing with our stories again. So, oh my gosh, isn't that so funny? I wrote the word mystery and I read it as my story. I wonder if there's any link to how the word mystery and my story are related, or if that's just my messy writing that I can't read. Anyways, I wrote down the word mystery. I spoke the word my story. But this energy on the 17th is going to be a lot about, again, going to what you feel you need to do. Okay. Not about what's expected of you, not about what's been obligated, not about any of those externals. It's like, ooh, here's where I need to go because this is what I feel is accurate for me, right for me. Or I don't freaking know, but I can't not know. So let me just go see what happens if I do the thing. Right. Yes. Okay. September, October. Yeah. How mysterious my story has been. I love that, Kelsey. So good. Okay, so October is going to be a flashback to January. It's going to be very much a time to reflect what's changed, what's shifted, what you've been through, what you've learned from that, who you've shifted to be. Like, it's so hard to see our past versions accurately. So sometimes I think it's helpful to like write yourself notes or write yourself letters. Like, imagine in January, you wrote a letter to yourself to read in October and like tucked it away somewhere and then read it so that you could try to tap into like, where was I at mentally, physically, and emotionally in January? And where am I at now, mentally, physically, and emotionally? How have I grown? How have I shifted? What have I learned? What's different for me? Right. So I think that would be actually a really fun exercise to do. So if you guys do it, let me know. I would love to hear if you do it. There's going to be a very important inwards reflection time on October 2nd. It's going to be really important to, maybe that's the day you open the letter and read it, right? Maybe, oh, Leanne's got a link to try it. It's called futureme.org. I love it. Try that. But yeah, if you're going to do it, read it on October 2nd. On the 8th, you are going to experience this concept of your confidence being earned, not given, right? Your confidence being earned, not given. And what do I mean by that? I think people who are lower on confidence tend to think that people who are higher on confidence were just like born that way. Like, you know, I was just born with blue eyes. Like, confidence is not that. Nobody is just born a certain way with confidence. Every single person who you feel is confident, in my experience, has had a story of adversity and they earned their confidence because they figured out how to have their own back, trust themselves, follow their intuition, honor themselves, whatever, right? Become their own authority. So we're going to have some lessons around confidence being earned and how we've earned our confidence and what's given our confidence to us. Right? And when I say given our confidence to us, I'm meaning more of like our stories. Maybe that's where the stories comes in, our mystery, our stories, whatever adversity we've overcome, right? Which makes me think of like, what is your hero story? If you got to write your hero story right now, what is it? If you ever if you literally sat down and you're like, once upon a time, there was this girl, da 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 da. Like, what would be your story? And like, play up the like fairy tale mystery hero's journey portion of it and see how you earned your confidence, right? What a fun thing to do. I feel like that would be a really fun practice. Okay. On the 17th, it is solidly time to implement new leadership models. I really hope when I wrote that down, I was like, ooh, I hope that means we're going to start to see more on the physical. I hope that means we're going to start to see more physical evidence of it because of the embodiment work and the activation work we've been doing, right? So I hope that's true. We shall see. Let's talk about that in October. November is a one energy month. Usually in October and November is when we start to feel the next year drifting in. Okay. So we're not done with 2024 yet, but we'll start to feel 2025 creeping in. Energy follows a bell curve, not a light switch. So it will start to creep in and you'll start to feel bits and pieces of it coming. So new ideas, because I'm like, I don't want to go too far because I don't want to give you guys too much information, but because 2025 is a 9 energy, there's going to be a lot of reflection at the end of 2024. So a lot of reflection. Interestingly enough, the month of November has a black moon, which is what it's called when you have 2 new moons in a month. The opposite of a blue moon is the black moon. So 2 new moons in 1 month. And for those of you who work with moon energy, a new moon is about darkness, going inwards, reflecting, potentially thinking about what you might want to initiate once the moon starts to make itself seen again, but not really taking a lot of action. It's much more inner world, watery, imaginative place. So there's 2 moons of those in November. There's one on the 1st and one on the 30th. And the one on the 30th has a lot of heart energy attached to it. So again, that makes me feel really hopeful about heart leadership. And then December in 2024 is going to be very strong intuition, very strong community, and very strong connection, right? Super, super, super important. So when you're planning your next December, mark off time to be in community of your choosing and to be in reflection with your own intuition. I'm just looking at this chat here. Yes. I know the paper bag princess. I love that story. The princess just tires the dragon out, so he falls asleep. So good. Okay, that kind of summarizes my forecast. This was long. What did we do? Oh my God, we're over 2 hours again. I was like, Megan, you can do it in 90 minutes. No, I could not. I'd love to just have you take a quick second. Let's just take a breath together to just connect back in with your intuition and your own energy. And as you breathe out, I want you to feel your energy settling into your body, landing into your own being, and ask yourself, what did I most need to receive today? And if you're open to sharing, I'd love to hear it in the chat. If you're catching the replay, please, please, please send me a note and let me know. I hope you've made a bazillion notes. You may choose to listen to this again. I hope you do. And anything that comes up as you're listening, I love to hear from you. So don't feel bad about sending me a note. Please do. As I mentioned a couple times, this is the universal forecast, meaning it's relevant to whoever tunes in. Okay. So that's who this forecast is for. If you would like a personal forecast, meaning your specific code and energy, there's an option for you to book that with me. And there's actually what I'm doing, because I just do this for the start of the year, is what I'll do is I'll send you a 20 to 30 minute audio recording of your personal forecast. And then we'll also do a workshop together on the 17th of January. And that is $179. I'll send you guys out the link, but you'll get, like I said, 20, 30-minute audio forecast from me where I'll go in way detail of your specific energy patterns. And then on the 17th of January, we're going to do a plan your year workshop where you're going to take your goals, projects you're working on, your intentions for the year with the universal and with your personal, and we're going to map it out together. And that workshop will probably be like 90 minutes to 2 hours kind of thing. Not where I'm talking, where you're working, like it'll be workshop style. So there'll be conversation, you'll have your agenda. I'll give you some calendar templates that you can play with if you don't have, like I like to use agendas like this. Or Anne Marie actually has an amazing numerology planner that I highly recommend as well. So if you want that, reach out and let me know. If you only want to attend the workshop, but you don't want your personal reading, that is an option as well, especially if you know how to do your own numbers. So DM me if that's an option. And yeah, I hope you guys got what you need today. It was so lovely for me to spend time with you. I hope you have a game plan for the year. That is my intention, and a way of going into the energy from a sense of empowerment so that you can choose to create with it, right? It's meant, like, the energy unfolds not to like challenge us, but to like initiate us or activate us, but we just have to know what to do with it, right? Love all the front end stuff. Yes, the major laws that are at play, excellent. Um, yeah, Leanne, end of year ritual. I did do that last year. I kind of forgot I did that last year. I will look back in my notes and I will update that and send it out. The roadmap, absolutely. Yay. Thank you so much. I'm headed in the right direction. I felt like I was struggling, but nope. Energies and your insights make me know I'm on track. Oh, isn't that the best feeling? So January 17th is 179, and that includes a 20 or 30-minute audio reading from me where I'll send you an audio file. So that gets you the reading and the workshop. If you want a 1 hour Zoom call reading with me, DM me and I'll give you details for that. You will be given solutions if you ask for them. Thank you for saying that, Travis. When I said that, I was like, damn, I need to ask more often. That is so good. 9 pages of notes. Yes. Leaning into our intuition as a source of power. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to unmute and I will definitely stay on the line for a few minutes if you guys have anything you want to ask about. I love that you guys stayed with me this whole time. You guys are probably all exhausted.
Where does your monthly forecasts, where do we find those?
Oh, I always do them in my Facebook community. So now that you're on my email list, you'll get an invitation into the January one, and it's in the Facebook community. I live stream it there, and then I upload it to YouTube after. So if you miss it, you can always go watch it on YouTube later. And I usually email my list out the replay as well. You're energized. Good. I'm so glad. I love sitting in this energy too, James. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Bring your specific questions to the monthly readings as well. That makes it super, super easy. I needed a little woo and centering, and it's coming back to the energy. Yes, you will sleep well tonight. Give yourself some water. Even though it feels like you're just kind of listening to me talk, this is also an energy transmission, right? And you were co-creating in this energy with me. So water, hydrate, rest, reflect, ease for yourself, and let yourself stay in that little dreamland space a little bit because it feels good to be there. Thank you so much, everyone. Mwah. We'll see you guys all soon. And Happy New Year.